Having reached the hour of 12 p.m. on Wednesday, August 17, I'd like to call this council meeting to order. First off, I'd like to declare a declaration here. Council of the Township of Terrace Bay hereby acknowledges that we are in the Robinson Superior Treaty Territory, and that on the land which we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the Métis. Okay, additions, declarations, and amendments. Do we have any additions? Declarations? No. Deletions. Deletion? None. None. Okay, it's moved by Councillor Malczewski, seconded by Councillor Moore. Resolved that the Wednesday, August 17, 2022 agenda be approved as presented. All those in favor? Disclosure of interest. Hearing none. Okay, it's moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Malczewski. Resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting held Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022 be approved as presented. Are there any errors or omissions? Anybody see anything? No. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, reports from administration. John, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So with respect to the reports, actually with respect to the short-term accommodation. So there is a bit of detail here, so I will go through it. Short-term accommodations or rentals, STAs for short, are a hot topic in the municipal sector right now for a variety of reasons. On the negative side, your housing stock gets depleted. You have zombie houses and wild parties. And on the positive side, tourism opportunities, additional accommodation options are also created. So different municipalities are handling it differently. A lot of what you see in the media has respect to the wild parties and that kind of thing, but we will continue. In Terrace Bay this time, STAs are not permitted in any zone. In order to permit this use, any owner planning to operate an STA would need to apply for zoning bylaw amendment, DBA. Through a successful DBA in 2018, bylaw 18/2019, STAs were permitted on one specific property in Zinco Plaza. So again, it's not across the entire zone, it's just for that one property because he applied and was successful. The amendment actually also provided a definition for STAs. So short-term rental accommodation, commercial use of a dwelling unit or rooms within a dwelling unit or accessory building whereby temporary accommodation is provided for compensation to members of the public for less than 30 days at a time. By comparison, a bed and breakfast establishment is permitted as an accessory use in the low density residential zone. Zoning bylaw defines bed and breakfast establishment as means a portion of a single dwelling being not more than 4 bedrooms and being one less bedroom that the total number of bedrooms provided in the dwelling is used to supply overnight accommodation to the traveling vacation public for profit or gain, and may include the provision of meals to such guests only, but not to the general public. So they can serve meals to their guests, but not as much. Where the bed and breakfast operation is secondary to the main residential use. So it should be noted that the regulations are also there. The one regulation, the one rule to note specifically with bed and breakfast, you have to live in the building. So it's a secondary use to that primary use, right? So whereas short-term rental accommodations through Airbnb and other apps, things like that, they're through the app. You may not live at the residence. So again, and also related is the municipal accommodation tax established under bylaw 25, 2019. I'm not going to go through that entirely in detail, but basically what it does say is that the accommodation tax does apply to short-term accommodations when they become available, and how we did that in the past. Administration seeking some guidance and direction from council. Stated above, currently STAs are not permitted in any zone. In order to permit the use, any property owner would need to apply for a ZBA. If the township does not want to permit this use, and the current bylaws policies stay as they are. To be more explicit, the township could consider a municipal-wide zoning bylaw amendment that does not permit the use in the township. Went that way. If, however, the township wants to regulate the use, they can either pass a licensing bylaw under the Municipal Act, a zoning bylaw under the Planning Act, or both. Through a licensing bylaw, the township will be able to require licensing fees, issue fines, define types of SDA, etc. Zoning bylaw can identify where the township use is permitted, require buffering, appropriate parking, and control the scale of use. So kind of to summarize the discussion and ultimately seeking some direction, council should consider the following paths. Status quo, again, nothing needs to change. STA is established, and we'll go action. Zoning regulation only allow them in specific areas, but licensing not required. So if you want to allow them in town, we specify they're only an LDR or even only an LDR in this specific subzone to that effect. And you're not going to license them. You're not going to try and collect additional fees from them. Zoning and licensing, specifically where they can go, what requirements are, and license them. Matt tax would apply in both those latter cases. And they would apply status quo if somebody applied for a zoning bylaw amendment like the gentleman on town did and got it. So financial implications, not at the moment, though, depending on direction council provides, allowing and regulating STAs could provide further revenues. So it's kind of presented for information only, but seeking guidance and direction to just have a conversation about it. So what prompted this, Paul? We're hearing that people are buying houses and this is their intent. So they're not fixed. Illicit that they're saying they're going to do Airbnb specifically, but they're buying houses to rent. And it's not indicated whether or not they're short or long term. So we want to get ahead of this a little bit. If we've allowed it once through one zoning bylaw amendment, if we're going to allow it and continue to allow it, that we'll take a different approach and work with our planners to get the proper bylaw in place, or status quo, we'll deal with it.
So a lot of people, I've seen this advertised, say the shutdown's coming up. They want to rent room for rent, blah, blah, blah. So this applies to that, right? You can't rent a room to a contractor for 2 weeks.
I'd have to look into the specifics more of each individual city. But generally speaking, yeah, zoning comes into play, and depending on how you're renting it out is also very crucial. If you live in the dwelling, you can run a B&B, right? So if we don't license them, it's just allowed in the zoning bylaws.
If I recall to Paul's point, when we looked at this bylaw back on the last council, I think that we did take into consideration people renting out for a short term or two contractors coming in to work at the mill. That's why the 30-day term was put in for that. And most of them aren't here longer than 30 days. So that was the reason for the limitation there.
But on the other hand, I've seen advertised room for rent, blah, blah, blah. Use the kitchen and all that other stuff, and doesn't say anything about 30 days or whatever.
And it depends, because you can rent out a portion of your dwelling.
Yeah.
That's the whole bed and breakfast thing. You have to live in a dwelling and that kind of thing. So there are other provisions in the zoning bylaw that do allow you to rent out rooms. It's advertising on a site is a bit different. So like on B&B, because it depends on length of time too. Like typically, I guess the people who would be doing the mill would be for 14 days or longer or something like that. So again, we can, if it's becoming a problem, we can license this. But to one of the negatives I pointed out earlier about it possibly taking away your housing stock or leaving zombie houses, that would happen if somebody's living in that dwelling. They're trying to get a room.
See, the thing is, I want to regulate this, okay? I don't want it wide open where everybody's doing what they want. I'm not saying I don't want them, but I think there has to be some guidelines. So I'm kind of leaning towards, this is me anyway, guys, the zoning and the licensing bylaw. I want to have some control over it, right? If we're going to allow it, where we're going to allow it, and how we're going to allow it. That's my feeling. I'm worried that, I mean, there's a property up by me right now that has me scratching my head, and I wonder,
I was thinking,
what is this going to turn into? I've heard so many different stories of what it's going to be when it's finished, and then I'm sitting there going, you know, this is could really be a royal pain in our rear end, for lack of a better term. If there's no guideline of regulation, then it would probably just go ahead until we say, well, I don't know about you guys, I think I'd rather have it on a paper. This is the way you can and can't do it. Mike?
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I think we have that basically already. What you can and can't do. To me, the issue comes down to how do we enforce it? And if we go the route of defining areas, I don't know what the implications are for the bylaw enforcement officer. Can he act proactively, or do we have to wait for a complaint, which is what the normal process is now? Also, if I think that what we have now is fine. I don't think it really needs to be changed. I think that again, it comes back to if someone is going to go ahead and start to develop one of these accommodation programs, they should be doing their homework before they start. And if they are advertising and we find out about it, then we can step up and say, well, you know, you haven't met the criteria in terms of the bylaw, you need to conform to that before you proceed any further. So if anybody's gonna open one of these things, you're gonna be advertising. So how are they advertising? If they're advertising on social media or in print, that's our way of tracking it and then going from there. I think that if someone wants to come to council and request a zoning bylaw amendment, which is what the process is now, then council today can deal with that. But from my perspective, I don't think that I don't want to see us going into changing the bylaw as it is and then changing it again down the road. Because there will be ramifications coming out of that. Devices will follow.
Is the real estate agent a person who's one obligated to let them know about the bylaws, like what they can and can't do with the property?
She's not obligated to, she does that out of good customer service. She also come and ask us. And typically how we find out is through the building permit process. But even then, I can be told one thing, they conform to everything under the building code, but then once their building permit's closed and the renovations are done, they're doing something else, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't want to get put in a position where we have everybody asking for forgiveness instead of.
So we've started sort of an enforcement, thinking about enforcement process behind the scenes. And we were prepared to send it out. We were just seeing it again, if council was thinking this is a good idea to move forward. So enforce it and say, you know, I gotta wait till the proper regulations are in place, that's fine. And to Councilor Moore's point, he's correct, that the status quo is that they are not allowed in any zone. Right. If you want one, you have to go for a zoning bylaw. And it'll be property specific. If a bunch of people got together and wanted to do it for their particular area, they could try to do that. But anyway,
But they would have,
status quo, they still have to go for zoning.
they would
bylaw.
have to go for zoning. So,
And again, just keeping in mind too, if the option there is for council to control it as well. Every time someone comes forward with a zoning bylaw amendment, you're going to approve it, then why not be proactive and control it on the front end and allow it and license it? So that was our thinking and coming forward with the discussions.
That's the only thing is I guess you could leave it the way it is and make everybody apply for a zoning. Or we sit back and we look at it and go, okay, well, where or how are we going to allow it? Maybe make it simpler. Where everybody understands, okay, I can do it as long as but same time, I don't know that you guys want someone in here every 2 weeks filling out the zoning amendment application either. That's been.
Well, again, it's just going to keep being approved. Like
Exactly. And then we're gonna.
something council is in favor of, let's proactively allow it, license it. Or if not, let's not.
Yeah.
I think the other thing to keep in mind here is the impact on the neighborhood.
Exactly.
You know, I think that it's one thing for council to say, yeah, we're okay with this and we want to do it.
Has to be done very carefully.
I mean, obviously, if we're going to change the bylaw, the residents of the municipality have an opportunity to speak to that change before it's approved.
Yeah.
But in my experience over the last 9 years, very few members of the community come forward when we're amending bylaws to say, well, I don't agree with this, or I don't, you know. And once it's done, that's after the fact, somebody comes in and complains, I didn't want to see that being there. Well, we've already agreed if they can do that. So, I still think it's important that the residents in the affected area have a voice in whether that development should occur or not.
And they definitely went through the zoning process.
Yeah.
There would be an opportunity to, again, both, even if you did it zone wide or you did it for a particular area town wide, there's the process where we would be passing that bylaw. They would have the opportunity through the process to comment. Our planners, every time, well, you're only doing it once that way. Okay. If you're doing it status quo and you're saying where they have to apply every time, again, every single time, 15 days notice, there's a meeting, people they're heard, council can take into consideration what the comments they heard. Council passes the bylaw or doesn't pass the bylaw, 20-day appeal period. So.
And if it gets past, a lot of people that want to spend, whatever it is going on in the field, like that one time there, they don't want to spend $1,200 or whatever it is on the field, so.
It is sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
It is a thin issue, and again, given our housing stock now, I mean, we've had, sort of complaints from our major employers that they have trouble recruiting, so they can't find accommodations for them. It is something to consider that, this could potentially eat up some of your vacant housing or housing that's to become vacant, so. Again, at the same time, it's a balance. You also have accommodation options for when the mill is on shutdown, that or isn't a trailer in someone's driveway. Campground.
I think that if the employers in the area are concerned about housing, I would like to see them come to the council table and say, we've got an issue, how do we deal with it? Rather than just changing the bylaw, because once we do this, if we go ahead with it, I mean, how many people are you gonna put in the homes? And then there's no incentive to build more properties. Because people are renting out rooms.
Place on Hudson Drive there last year.
I mean, lots of places, so, I'm not saying we don't need controls, but I think that, I think we need to look at it on an individual basis, so we can take action, or future councils can take action as appropriate.
See, we have controls now, right? Because right now we have all of the control, because we're just saying you're not gonna build or do anything that you come to.
And if you do without our consent, then there's penalties.
Then it's shut down.
Yeah.
I want controls, but I don't know that I wanna buy everybody kind of either. I think, like to John's point, that might open some of these older houses that people might have that are sitting there, for lack of a better term, vacant or decrepit. Maybe people will buy them and turn it into something. At the same time, I don't want every neighbor in that house saying, what the hell did you do to me? So it's definitely some thought that's gonna have to go into this if we're gonna move ahead with it. But,
I've heard that side of the argument too, and all the cars in the
well,
driveway.
exactly.
That's
But to your point, you're right, they would have to, part of the thing would have to be proper allocation for parking. The last thing I want is 5 cars in the street or snowstorm too, right? Because there's people staying at houses with no driveway. And that just messes our guy.
I think what I heard council just summarize that is that status quo seems to be the order of the day. If we ever did bring it back, I think council would want to regulate it, not just through zoning, you want to have some kind of licensing bylaw for controls, which is what our planner suggested anyway, because you want to really stipulate with respect to parking. And again, each location, if we ever did bring it back, maybe there's something in the licensing bylaw get specific to the location. Well, I know you don't have parking, maybe you should reconsider this kind of thing. So that's what it sounds like. That's what council's ready.
The only, like I said, guys, the only thing is don't consider zoning and licensing. Every time these bylaw appeals come forward, zoning, we pay J.L. Richards a fee to come and look over it, right?
Well, yeah,
And so we're paying that fee over and over and over again.
so the applicant actually pays the fees we passed in 2019 covers the majority of the, it would only be a complex, so in the middle, this one which it would make cost more, but we can also pass those costs on to the applicant. If they are absorbed or outside of it.
Like,
final comment, the other thing is, if there's only 3 of us sitting around the table making a decision on this,
should go to
I
5.
think maybe a fuller council should have the opportunity to have the opportunity too. So either we can defer this, or with the election coming up and the new council coming in a few months, we will bring it back.
So again, just to summarize, status quo.
Yeah, we'll leave it alone.
If it ever does come back, probably a good timer for administration is not to bring back zoning only, but maybe bring back an option.
Yeah.
If we get inundated with complaints because we're enforcing or requests, we can bring it back. If I get 5 zoning applications in the same week for Airbnbs, I think it's probably smart to bring back to the table with one.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we'll work moving forward on this file. If that's okay with council. and maybe a new council. New year or unfortunately.
Okay, sounds good.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, public words. Ryan, you're up.
Yep. Okay, in May of this year, our current 1991 D7 bulldozer suffered a total transmission failure at our landfill. The machine has since been sent to Caterpillar for an assessment of repairs. The quote for repairs came back at $80,420 plus tax. There's been a long history of transmission problems with this machine. Total past repairs to the transmission and transmission cooling system have totaled $92,424 since May 2017. The machine has 8,770 hours on it, and there have also been some engine issues that could cause some failure in the future. Administration has done a great deal of research and has determined that the D7 has passed its usable life cycle and should be replaced with a newer machine. With current market conditions, a new machine is not available for a minimum of 8 months. After careful deliberation, it has been determined that a bulldozer is the most efficient and effective machine to maintain our landfill at this time. Administration has also done research into landfill compacting machines, as this would ensure we are getting close to the ideal 40% compaction in the landfill, which would in turn help prolong the life expectancy of this landfill and any future expansions. Unfortunately, it is unlikely that a landfill compactor could single-handedly maintain our site due to the hill-style configuration currently being used. Currently, we're using a rental excavator as a short-term solution to maintain the landfill. The cost of this rental is $4,200 per month, plus mobilization and demobilization, maintenance and cleaning. Rental of a used bulldozer has been investigated and determined to be too costly at this time at a cost of $10,800 per month, plus mobilization and demobilization, maintenance, cleaning. Administration has also investigated the use of our group purchasing program, Canoe Procurement, LAS, and has determined that this is the ultimate option for purchasing, as RFPs have been done and Caterpillar used equipment has been rated the highest by Canoe Procurement. This means CAT has been scored on service, warranty, price, and discount, and scored at the top for purchasing used equipment. Administration has found a suitable used dozer. The machine is a 2019 Caterpillar D6N with 1,160 hours on it and can be purchased for a total of $445,000, including delivery. The machine comes with warranty until August 1st, 2023. Also included in this price is $10,000 to add additional guarding to the final drives to ensure longevity in the landfill setting. Financial implications: final cost for the used 2019 is $445,000 as indicated. The amount was not included in the 2022 budget as the machine failed after the passage of budget. Administration will secure a 5-year loan to finance the purchase. We've got a few options here for you today. Option A is that council approve the purchase of the used 2019 Cat D6 for the purchase price of $445,000 plus tax. The council direct administration to investigate the purchase of a used compactor. Option C, that council approve the repairs to our current dozer at the cost of $80,420 plus tax. Option D, that council approve the continued renting of an excavator at $4,200 plus tax per month until such time that a dozer is required, and proceeding to rent a dozer at a cost of $10,800. Option E, that council direct administration to investigate the purchase of a new compactor. Option F, that council direct administration to purchase the purchase of a used dozer and a used compactor. Option G, that council does not approve any of the above options and direct administration otherwise. Administration recommends option A, that council approve the purchase of a used 2019 Caterpillar D6N for the purchase price of $445,000 plus tax. I know that's a lot of information there, so ready for your questions.
I have a couple.
Sure.
Where is this machine right now?
Southern Ontario, Concord, Ontario.
So I'm very nervous about buying something without someone putting their hands on it.
So
And it's all Toromont, am I correct in assuming
Yes.
that?
yeah, which is why we talked about this quite a bit. We talked about sending Brent down. We talked about sending me down. We talked about sending me and Brent down. There's only 1,100 hours on the machine.
Yeah.
What it's going to cost us to send a guy down for a few days doesn't seem worth it to me. I mean, we're willing to have that conversation for sure, but the machine has warranty for a year. It's got oil analysis done on it all. We've got the reports, everything looks good on the machine. I don't have any concerns as it's Tormont selling us the machine. If other people feel different, we can certainly have that discussion. The other concern with that is machines are selling quickly.
Very.
This has been a big process. We all know the dozer's been down since May. We found a suitable machine. We would like to move quickly on it. I'm confident in the purchase. If we decide we want to send somebody down there, we're definitely willing to have that conversation. I've talked to Brent about it. He doesn't see value in going down there. He'll gladly go. We want to pay for him to go to Toronto, look at a machine for a few hours, come back. He's fine with it. But what can he really look at that the CAT mechanics and the CAT reports aren't giving us?
No, I was actually hoping they would float it on the rate for 445,000 and let us have a look at it because it's their own outfit. Second of all, do you have a history on where it's been?
That was owned by a contractor.
Okay.
I got track life and all that stuff off of it. It's all good. So it hasn't been heavy rock use or anything like that, if that's what you're thinking about.
Okay, now what else was I thinking? So we've decided and I know we were talking about this quite a bit. We've decided right now that a Packer isn't going to work for what we want.
Yeah. And
I do agree with that right now, but when we open the new cell,
that's when we're gonna have that.
we're gonna need one.
Yeah.
So, and a Packer, a new one was over 800,000, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's not-
886 was the only price I could get,
Yeah.
and that was a Bomag. Everybody else, they're so hard to come by right now, they can't even give us a price.
Yeah.
So 886 was the Bomag price for a brand new machine. With, again, we don't think it's gonna climb our hill.
Kind of like what I'm kind of hinting at here is, so we're gonna buy this, and I'm glad you looked at it 6 because I thought 7 was over. So
Yeah.
We're not gonna put a whole lot of hours on it. I mean, this thing is 30 years old and we got, what did we say we have?
8,000. And we used a lot building screw trail and all
That's
that,
an
another
insane
project
amount of
too.
low hours. That's.
Yeah.
For it to be in that shape. That's terrible. Okay, all I'm saying is, guys, I don't know who's gonna be sitting here in 2 years or a year or whatever, or 3 years. When we finally get permission to expand, but we're gonna need to buy a Packer then, so. We just have to make sure we understand if we're gonna spend that on this, we're probably tying our hands and going used on a Packer.
Don't forget, the option is always gonna be there to sell the dozer,
And look at a Packer.
but I've done like an insane amount of research, talked to landfill operators all over Ontario and Manitoba. I don't know if we're ever gonna get to only a Packer, the way our dump is set up. We don't know if a Packer's the only thing that's gonna work. The only way we'd be selling the dozer would be a Packer would be coming in here for 6 months and we'd say, well, the dozer hasn't moved, we don't need it. Right? Marathon is getting by with only a Packer. They have a great big hole. They're in a hole and they're just going like this, right? They're building up. We're going like this. That being said, when we do expand, we're gonna have a different configure. It's gonna be the same configuration, but we're gonna have more real estate to be going like this instead of like this, like we're doing it.
Just one thing, Ryan, like we mentioned before, but we did discuss the possibility once we decided to go with the dozer to talk about possibly leasing a compactor or just leasing a compactor. So Ryan's kind of really willing to do that. They're flying off the shelves at their dealerships now, so why would they lease one to us? Kind of thing. That's kind of the argument we put up. They'd rather sell it to us. On that note too, a lot of landfills we spoke to as well. They work in conjunction with each other. Really big landfills, but again, they're on flat terrain.
Yeah.
The compactor will run over the truck compactor once they're coming in, and the dozer will push it, spread it out into the hole. Again, as Ryan said, we have a less than 2-to-1 or 2-to-1 slope in some places, supposed to be 3-to-1. And
4-to-1 is what it really
we're
should
not,
Yeah, we're too high.
from who we've been talking to, we're not 100% confident that the compactor is going to climb that hill effectively and continually operate efficiently. We know the dozer works in that environment. Whether or not we're getting 40% action is questionable, but we are getting some action. We spoke with KGS about this as well. We agree with us that this is probably the way to go right now.
As well as MECP, Minister of Environment, like Masters.
Yeah, what else? So this unit has deck, right?
Yes. There's one, unfortunately, yes, diesel exhaust.
So this is a whole new game for us. We've never
Yeah.
dealt with it before, but I
Yeah.
have at work and
Yeah.
it's a freaking
Yeah.
nightmare.
Yeah.
Okay?
And unfortunately, the only way to get around that is go buy a older machine.
Yeah,
And that we're not in that business, right? To have something old. But we have had those discussions. We have warranty for a year. We plan on putting it through the ringer. And, making sure everything's okay, but would it be nice to have a brand new one with a 4-year warranty? 100%, but the market right now, that's the other thing I was gonna speak to on the Packer. The market right now is terrible for everything, whether it's Packers, whether it's Dozers, whatever. Hopefully when we get to needing a Packer, the market's a little better. Maybe somebody will say, hey, we'll bring you one to try it, to work it for 6 months, make payments on it if you want to send it back, you can or something. Right now, it's a seller's market. It's not a buyer's market. Yeah.
Paul,
Is that full warranty, Ryan?
For the 1 year, yeah.
What's, not being the heavy equipment guy, what does the N stand for?
Just the
Model number?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the same weight, same horsepower as Randy McKeer's D6R, which we had in the dump. Well, that worked out really well. We were able to try it a little bit smaller dozer, make sure it's gonna work. No issues whatsoever. Actually, the guys that ran it said it was like, wow, compared to our old B7, they're tires.
So we put like 200 or 300 hours a year on it then, you think?
Yeah,
So the blade, I saw the picture, by the way.
Yeah.
You guys are happy with that?
that's what we wanted, even on the D7 in 1991.
Okay, so
Right now, we can't backblade parking lots. We have to bring a loader out there every time we run the machine across the parking lot, or the public won't back up because it's all rutted up by tracks. So we were looking specifically for a straight blade and we got it. So we are happy with the blade, yes.
there's two things I'd like to see. If we're gonna do this, number one is. I want a fire suppression system on that machine. I do not understand how we've ever got away without one out there. But I think we need to find out what one would cost, and I think it should be on that machine when you float it to Terrace Bay.
I haven't looked into that at all. Nobody's mentioned
Probably
that we
look
can.
at, I mean, they're not cheap, I understand that. But how we have ever been able to insure a machine sitting in the middle of nowhere in a landfill without some kind of fire protection need.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to get a quote on that.
I can look into that for
It
sure.
could be done in the city before it's floated down.
Yeah.
Like I know at the mill, you can't run the loader without a fire
Yeah.
suppression.
And none of our equipment is fire suppression.
And I wish some of it did.
Yeah.
Not so much in town because at least you can get a goddamn fire hydrant, but
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
By the time the truck gets there, you're just filling the paperwork out for new load.
Yeah.
Number two, it's a very long shot. I just want you to ask. Cat's very territorial about their software.
Yeah.
Okay, but otherwise, every little thing that goes wrong with that, you're gonna be calling them here. And
We have CAT software already.
do you have one for the depth of?
I don't know, but we have the full package,
Okay.
so I don't think that's a concern.
Check and see if you can upgrade.
Another reason we look at cats more than I have quotes from John Deere, I have quotes from Komatsu, but we have cat software, which is
Okay.
a big selling point for sure.
So pay for cat software every year.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I
Yeah.
didn't realize we had it.
Yeah.
Because you know what? These are gonna be very.
Yeah.
This is a brand new game to us, right? And they're gonna be very labor intensive, they're very fussy.
Yeah.
One thing I want you to ask is how many hours are on the DPF?
Yeah, on the filter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if it has to be done every 5,000 hours.
Yeah, so it's
So
gonna
I'm
be the
assuming
original,
if it's original, we know where we stand, but if they change.
and we're hours, like we're years away,
Yeah.
but I know they are expensive.
I think if I remember right, they have to be done every 5,000 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know what the expense is, and I do know you can send them away and have them cleaned and then reconditioned, put back in, but I know that that's it. The thing is, I know it takes forever to get a new machine. We're looking at trying to get a couple right now, and we've been told by Cat, we're talking a year.
Yeah.
To get a loader right now. It's like, supply chain has hit everything,
Yeah.
right, even loaders. So.
I know I'm not supposed to, and I can wait till question period, I could put my 2 cents in, you guys up.
No, go ahead,
I looked at the whole report, I think you put a great report, that was pulled out, and you did your homework, because I know you do that. Right. Personally, you're gonna get nothing to this tractor, to solve it, Jerry. Personally, I would spend the money to fix it. wait for next budget, wait for next council to make the decision and sell that tractor, you're gonna get your money back for $100,000. That's the way I,
For what, the old one?
for bringing, fix the old one, run it for 1 year. Then you get the time to put it into your proper budgeting process, but that's my opinion for what it's worth.
We did talk about that a lot. After going back through the history of the machine, I personally think that's a bad idea. The last time this thing got $60,000 worth of work to the transmission was 470 hours ago. There's issues in there. There's issues with the cooling system, which aren't going to be repaired for 80,000. This is to put a new tranny and a new torque converter and flush the final drives. That's what's 80,000. Still working on options for selling the old machine, running around 50,000. We're going to get for it. So if we put 80 into it, we're only going to get 50 from CAT. There's other ways to sell it, but you're going to get a little bit more money for sure. You do see them on Kijiji and stuff for 80 to 90,000, but with that history, that's the one of the concerns of repairing it.
Oh,
So for $445,000, John, I'm not sure if you have these numbers. But what is the loan gonna be for a month or year?
What Danny gave us, what's in the thing, we just do a 5-year loan, I'm not sure if a month or annual, it will be probably 5.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll pay more interest and stuff like that, it's obvious, right? So.
Yeah, a couple of things. I agree with Rick that I would like to see somebody go down and have a look at it. We're spending a lot of money on something that we haven't seen. What it's going to cost us to go down and look at may end up saving us a lot of money in the long run. And if it doesn't, so what? I mean, at least we've done our due diligence. We're satisfied with what we're getting. And the guys got a chance to really get a hands-on look at it, ask some questions about it once they get to see it. So I would suggest that if we do go ahead and purchase that we do it after a site visit. The other question I have is with regard to the purchase, are we still on a 50-50 not sharing on capital?
this current agreement, yes. Well, actually, no, the current agreement's vague. I gotta be careful how I say that. It's 50-50 on the operation. So
Not on capital, we just not on.
John, you can probably elaborate a little
So
more.
that's always been in dispute, it's a matter, it's been disputed, so. Either way, now, the way we looked at it was we need to run, Terrace Bay's not gonna not buy a piece of equipment, because we're unsure what Striver's thing's gonna be in that situation, we still need to operate a landfill.
Yeah.
We're the owner operator, we have obligations to MOE, we have obligations to knock a pile down every couple of days and put cover and things like that, so. It's not a great answer, but we didn't want to get the water.
No, I wasn't expecting it to be a great answer. I just wanted to get the discussion going on that issue.
We would rent the hour and charge the hours back.
So the operator, there is charge back also through the machine, we talk about it every year in budget, machine rental line, right? There's 2 machine rental lines, one's for, like, we're renting the excavator right now.
Yeah.
One goes there, and one goes to our own machine for our.
Exactly.
The only nervous part of this I have is that when the current garbage truck that we have was purchased, shortly after it was purchased, I don't know how shortly after, it was thought that maybe that wasn't the right piece of equipment to buy. But we could have done something that we didn't require the same number of people on the truck to handle to pick up refuse. I don't know, again, we don't know what exactly we got left for landfill time on the existing landfill.
About 14-ish years.
Yeah, and we aren't even sure that we're going to be able to expand on the current site that we have. So are we going to buy a piece of equipment that we can sell it, maybe, depending on what we're going to need to go to a new location for the landfill. That's not this council's issue, but it's something that's gonna be facing previous councils in the not too distant future. So I just want to give some thought as to, do we really want to spend this kind of money right now? Although our options are pretty limited, we're not going to be able to get anything else, if we don't buy this.
Well,
There are some used compactors out there. We would want to do some more research on them. There is a company in Southern Ontario that buys them and refurbishes them. And they're available from 200 to 700,000. They have a bunch of them, you know, you pick the quality of the machine you want to buy, sort of thing. We looked at them heavily. The dozer's always going to have value, whether it's this landfill, a new landfill in a totally different location, or that expanded landfill, as well as always have value to be sold. The same as to Gino's point, we can sell our 91 that's 30 years old, right? Easier than probably selling a garbage truck, for example. There's a bigger market for a dozer. I strongly believe, administration strongly believes this is the right decision at the right time. Again, to your point, I don't think that there's value in us going to Southern Ontario. If you guys do, we're more than willing. We'll have that discussion for sure. I don't know what we're going to see that the cat mechanics aren't going to see. And again, there's warranty. We're not buying from Kijiji. That's where I'm confident. We wouldn't buy from Kijiji, but if we were, we would certainly go and look at it. But we're buying from Caterpillar. Yeah, we know kind of what we're getting.
well, go ahead.
How long is this offer good for, Ryan?
The machine could be sold right now. The machine was still sitting there yesterday.
Also, they're not gonna wait for our answer.
I don't think we're in that market right now. I'm hoping to leave here and call Dino and tell him pull the trigger kind of thing. I don't think it's gonna sell that quickly. There was nobody like heavily interested when I talked to Dino on yesterday. But
Okay, so just to throw this out here, 10,800 a month to rent a tractor, right?
that's a D6 from Crest. That was the best deal I could find.
So if we rented it for a year, we're at
120 grand.
we can probably purchase one.
Yeah.
The backhoe, I'm surprised we're getting away with it as long as we are.
Yeah, I mean, you could go to the landfill and see what we're doing, right?
Someone's gonna step on us, we're not talking.
We're not, we are out of compliance right now, for sure, due to cover more than anything. The MOE is aware of our situation and they're okay with it, but we're not operating the landfill properly, for sure, to your point. But just so you know, we are okay. Yeah, I've talked to them, we heavily about it,
We can't,
but we can't do this for 2 years either, but this is short term.
for lack of a better term, piss off the MOE right now, and if we need to try and
Yeah.
expand the land. Yeah. I don't wanna have two fights with these guys.
Mike's all good with what we're doing. Mike Landers from the MOE. Like I say, he knows the market is tough right now to find a machine. He knows it's hard to make a decision on, do we repair what? This was very hard for us to pick the recommendation of getting the used machine, but we felt that it's the right decision after a lot of research.
Well. What I might,
I'm just looking at option D, with regard to renting about a dozer at 10,000 a month. Is that a new one or a used?
No,
one?
that's used. That's a fairly old machine. Not old. It's the same style machine as Randy McCarron's, the D6R. It's at a John Crescent Marathon.
Okay.
Other dozers in the area are in the 15,000 a month range. I'm not sure why. I negotiated that a little bit with them, hoping to get a fair bit cheaper because of the hours. When you rent a machine, you get it for 168 hours a month. We only need 60.
Okay.
They would have given us 90 at, I think it was 10% off or something. It wasn't that good of a deal for, but we did talk about that. That was the best deal we could find.
Okay, so then going back to option A, if we look at the one we're 2019. Can we lease to buy that rather than nobody purchasing this time?
Caterpillar offered us a few different options to purchase through them. Caterpillar loans as well as Caterpillar operating leases, and none of them were as financially sound as borrowing money. With our borrowing power, we have good borrowing power. The interest rates through Caterpillar were significantly higher.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
the other thing we gotta remember, guys, if we're gonna rent them. Over there. 10,800 a month, and we reckon,
I was just going to mention there's You are running it in garbage, right?
If we destroy
It's not
the carriage or rip the seals out of the final drive, that's
Yeah.
on us.
Yep.
Because this thing isn't set up for landfill,
No.
renting, I'm assuming.
No.
Okay. Paul,
How much have we spent so far, John, you know?
We're on month 1 with the
Yeah.
excavator from Valentino and Scriber, so only 4,200 plus floating. Which is like a couple grand by the time it goes back. We've also rented Randy's dozer for a few daily rentals. Don't have the bill yet, but it would be around 4,000. We're under 10,000 that we've spent so far, but you can drive to the landfill and see that.
Yeah.
Right, you can see we're struggling. We've put our 420 down in the hole too, and all that trying to get by. Trying to buy time. We didn't want this to take this long, but we wanted to make sure our research was done.
and Randy's not willing to rent any.
Well, he will on a monthly rental, and it's gonna cost us a lot of money because it's machine, and it's going in garbage.
Yeah,
It's not a nice environment to rent a machine.
I know he told me he didn't really want it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I understand.
Well, you know what, guys, you know what your options are. I mean, we can throw the money at this 30-year-old machine and part of me wants to. But at the same time, I know it has no value, even though it has no hours.
Yep.
And I don't want to put $80,000 into something, guys, and then 2 months later. And spending another 40 on an engine.
One thing I didn't mention about the old machine. There will be 6-month warranty if we did repair it. There is 6-month warranty on parts and labor on what they worked on.
Yeah.
Okay, if the thing is still overheating, they didn't work on the cooling system. We're not going to get warranty on that. But if we blew that tranny in 6 months, we are going to get a new tranny. Just so you know, is it wise? I still don't think so, but there is that. The last one took 4 years to blow, but it only took 400 hours.
Yeah.
So there is that.
Okay, guys, you ready to move forward?
Yeah.
You're good. I think we haven't got a choice in what to do. I'm worried about. I'm worried about doing this road too, but. This, to me, this is the lesser of two evils, although. It does kind of tie our hand, the next council, and we have to go to the bagger.
It's always been, just a final comment about it, it's always been administration standpoint, as you guys all know, I'm new, but I talk to Terry all the time. It's always been administration standpoint that when we get a packer, we're still gonna need a dozer. The hope was always that the D7 was still gonna be running.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. This couldn't happen at a worse time, but it has, and this is the way we found to deal with it. But it's always been, MOE's recommendation, KGS's recommendation, you're still gonna have to have a dozer there when you get a packer, just because of the way we operate a landfill.
So what's the timeline if it's approved, right, to get it here?
I would think a couple weeks. I'd like to spend the money on a 500-hour service while it's sitting at cat down there, and then find a truck to bring it up here.
Are they gonna do the guarding on that here?
No, we're gonna do that ourselves. I talked to Sylvain this morning,
Okay.
and we got some ideas on how we're gonna do that ourselves.
Yeah, okay. The only thing is check, like, I'm serious about the fire thing. I think you need to check, see what.
I'll definitely look into it for sure. I think it's probably very expensive, but I'll for sure look into
Well,
it.
I have no doubt. It's
Yeah.
probably at least $5,000. But let's find out
I'm
what it's
thinking
worth,
more, yeah.
because I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
The other thing is. And it's just a comment, okay, that machine's 30 years old, I know that, but it's got 8,000 hours on it, right?
I agree.
And it looks like it's 100 years old.
Yeah.
That crap's gotta stop. I don't know why I say this over and over again. Everybody's gotta remember that every piece of equipment we buy belongs to the corporation of the town of Terrace Bay, but it's funded by the taxpayers. And we have to start looking after stuff. It's gotta be washed once in a while, it's gotta be cleaned. I mean, it's terrible. We beat that thing to death out there, and I understand it works hard, but it shouldn't look as bad as it does.
Was that one brand new?
That was bought brand new.
Yeah.
And I see it with a couple of our other pieces of equipment that I'd like to bring in. Get and do someday too, but the thing is, our stuff, there's no reason for it to look as bad as it does. Some of our stuff looks kind of rough, and a lot of it is just because we don't wash it, we don't clean it up. And I get comments, right, people in town that know Well, how come that thing looks as bad as it does? It's only a few years old. So let's just pass that on somewhere down the line, guys. Wash your machines once in a while, clean them up. I think we're gonna have to figure something out for the dump. I don't know if we can convert the rec center, that holding tank with a pump to something a little more high pressure so that they could go out once in a while, wash it.
What we've done in the past for the dump is brought the fire truck out there,
Even that would work,
but you can't get that stuff off.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to sort of disagree with your comment about the dump. I don't know if there's much we can do with the machine out there. Just to bring the machine to CAT to get looked at this time. No, I'm just saying, what we did was we spent over 2 days, 2 guys cleaning the machine.
Yeah.
And when it got there, we got a $1,200 bill from CAT to clean. So once they went under the tranny and stuff, the stuff we couldn't, like we pulled stump bands, everything. We pulled track pads to try and find out, drive stuff out. You'd run through garbage. I don't know if there's another option for out there.
okay, well, I think we have to. Moved by Councilor Moore, seconded by Councilor Malashewski. Resolved that council approve the purchase of a used 219 Caterpillar D6N for the purchase price of $445,000, sorry, plus applicable taxes. Mike?
Or are we still gonna send somebody down?
Well, I guess that's up to you guys. I wish I could. I'm willing to take your word for it. I guess at the end of the day, if it shows up in Thunder Bay and you guys have a real issue with it, I want someone to see it up there then, okay? If not here, not down there.
Well, I think it's gonna come from there and come right here would be,
It's gonna come right to Terrace.
that would be my plan, is to bring it right here.
You think once you put your name on the dotted line.
Yeah, you
It's
will.
yours, yeah.
I mean, I think it doesn't have a lot of hours on it. I don't think it's beat up too bad.
So you went online, saw like
Yeah.
40 pictures
looks
of it.
Pretty good of what I saw.
Yeah.
Because if it didn't, I would have said something about that.
For sure, yeah, we're not gonna buy junk, it's not.
And the undercarriage track length looks almost brand new.
Yeah.
You know, just the pads and everything, is what I was looking at. So.
Yeah, the windows are all like brand new, they're not even scratched or.
Yeah.
Right, I mean. Caterpillar's not in the business to hide things to sell a machine. To mess up a customer, especially a customer like us that is a CAT customer, right? I think we're safe there. If we want to send somebody, that's cool. We're short on manpower as it is. I got, our mechanics out running heavy equipment right now. Can we send them to Toronto for 3 days next week? Sure, but I don't know if it's a good business decision.
I'm just wondering, is there someone down there that could actually go look at it on behalf of the town? You know what I mean?
I've never thought about that, Paul, but I'm sure we can call an independent mechanic company that, could send somebody over. Yeah, it would probably only cost us $1,000 or something. I never thought about that, but I mean, I'm sure I can Google.
QC guy.
Yeah.
Control.
Yeah.
You're in trouble, Mike.
Okay. We
We'll call the roll, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, all those in favor?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for your work on that.
No worries. It was fun. My first job.
I gotta go back. Okay, so it's moved by Councilor Malashewski, seconded by Councilor Moore. Resolved that council accept the short-term accommodations report as presented and provide further direction. That was for the last one. All those in favor? Stacy. Good day.
Good afternoon, council. So today I have a report for council for surplus properties for sale. So administration would like to list some of the properties owned by the municipality with the real estate agent for potential sale. With the current real estate market and housing shortage, there has been an increase in demand to purchase property for development. Local North Shore communities have had success with listing and selling their properties with expertise of a real estate representative. Administration has reached out to a local real estate agent, Wendy Christia, and has been working with her on the listing of residential properties. Administration recommends that the township sign these further listing agreements with Christia from Remax Generations Realty. The subject properties have been previously declared surplus and offered for sale in the past. So the properties that we're listing is the commercial property, so vacant simple plaza lots, as you can see listed there. Excuse me, the highway commercial property, number 1 on Millennium Road, which is next to the SPG, as well as a residential lot, lot 256 East Grove Crescent. This property was subject of an unsuccessful transaction earlier in 2022. At the time, it was not listed with a realtor, but received interest through an unsolicited offer. This property has no civic or municipal address under the 911 bylaw. This will have to be eventually corrected, but is legally described as roll number 5854000002386000, plan M329, lot 256, East Grove Crescent. As for financial implications, the 2 commercial lots will be listed at $50,000 and the residential lot will be listed at $15,000. Same as the other residential lots currently. There is no financial contribution unless a property sells, and then the agreed upon flat rate commission of $2,500 is paid out for the sales price for the commercial lots and $1,500 for the residential lot. Section 3 of bylaw 33/2007, being a bylaw to establish procedures for the sale of real estate properties, states that the clerk shall be responsible for obtaining 1 or more appraisal prior to the consideration by council of a bylaw to sell, except in such cases where an appraisal is not required by the act and not, in opinion of the clerk, advisable in the circumstances. A number of factors led to the opinion that obtaining an appraisal was not advisable in this situation and that the asking prices are acceptable. Historical value and success with the sales of vacant township-owned property, previous experience and cost with obtaining an appraisal in a timely manner, advice from a realtor, and current real estate market in Terrace Bay area. So we have 2 options presented to you today. Option A, that council declare the subject properties as surplus and that council approve the signing of the listing agreements with W. Christia from Remax Generations Realty and that the appropriate bylaw be brought forward. Or B, that council does not approve the signing of the listing agreements and that council directs administration otherwise. Our recommendation is option A, that council will declare the subject properties as surplus and that council approve the signing of the listing agreements with W. Christia from Remax Generation Realty and that the appropriate bylaw be brought forward.
One question. The commercial property, that's between the SPG and
And the tap.
TVHL, right?
Yeah, that's
I
correct.
always thought SPG owned that I was surprised. Okay. Okay, and everything on the other side is currently in a negotiation. That's all.
With MTO.
It's looking at all that, right?
Council's previously aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the ones on the plaza, I thought we had already declared them surplus, but that's okay if we didn't. Then
I can look at that. So I have seen it for sale in the past.
Yeah.
I couldn't go back to the minutes to find exactly where it was declared surplus. Just easier to write it into the resolution and reaffirm their surplusity with the council. So, okay. So it's just easier to do it that way. Now we're sure.
But I don't have a problem. I think we should list everything that we think we can get a reasonable offer on, and these properties are no different. In the market right now, you never know, right? Paul?
That's not gonna interfere with that Tesla.
Tesla's actually on the sidewalk in the road allowance, so it's in front of whatever
Yeah.
business or businesses eventually develop there, but Tesla's already was dropping to that location, so I think it's a bonus to a certain extent. Depends on who purchases the property, what type of business they're gonna have some other kind of driveway or whatever, but should be okay.
Yeah. Mike?
Yeah, I had some concerns about the Tesla setup as well, because with their power stations in behind on the opposite side of the sidewalk. How much of that do they have to have? If we have to go and have that property resurveyed before we could sell it
So
for the property description size.
So everything Tesla has is on like sort of the township road allowance portion, even the back part is my understanding, because if people get single plaza, how far a setback and then we have the front garden, so. Yeah, you're correct, it would be a setback probably in the zoning bylaw saying they can't build within 9 feet or 3 meters or whatever the setback is of the Tesla station, but that would pretty much be the only limitation. With respect to the Tesla portion alone, there may be other things for zoning on the property that just have to get it right now.
Yeah, I got no problem listing with that particular one for sure. I want to be careful of how we present it so that potential buyer is getting exactly what we're marketing, what we're selling.
Yeah.
And our realtor will definitely make sure that the prospective buyers well informed. She'll, when she goes to post it, she'll do her due diligence and make sure she's describing exactly what's there.
Hoping that she can present it in a way that it's more of an opportunity rather
Yeah.
than something that's more of a hindrance.
How many lots are there?
It counts 6 lots.
It actually counts 6.
Yeah, it counts 1 to 6 lots, but there's a little bit of history there that I let John speak to.
So not necessarily history, just so the legal description of the parcel describes it as lots 1 through 6.
Right.
When it's looked up into a warehouse, it comes up as one piece. Maybe because the township owns it, I'm not sure. Either way, they can be parceled off. Someone comes and says, well, I know that there's 6 lots there, I want 1 lot. We could do it that way as well as in sell. But the point is to get them up for sale and get them advertised to get people interested in them, so. Or sell all 6 to one buyer and they can either parcel them, 7 them off and sell them individually, or put something large enough there that warrants the size of lot there.
Yeah, I don't believe any of those opportunities.
Probably not. Probably you'd have to go through the back, right?
Well, there would be servicing right by a lot, so it would be
Yeah.
similar to the other situation when we sold property. Service, it's brought to where they building is.
Yeah.
I'll just go back to when those buildings that are on the end of the plaza now were built. They weren't serviced at the time, and there was a discussion at the time that those were built as to whether the rest of the property should have been serviced as well. That's about all.
Oh, that's no. Okay. Yeah, like I said, if we can sell. I guess the only thing that I don't know why all of a sudden just down a little. I guess I don't know if we have any control over this, but it's possible that a speculator can come and buy the whole thing up and then try to make money off of it, right? Sell it again, subdivide it.
Good.
But yeah, and I hopefully that would be a good thing. I just don't want. What do you call it? I always say we're just as guilty of something, but I don't want a bunch of land barons. I see it in the city of Thunder Bay, where 3 big rich guys control 90% of the market. Because over the years, their families have bought up everything, right? But I guess it wouldn't be a bad problem to have to a certain extent. Hopefully, if someone's coming to buy this, they're coming to develop it, they're coming to buy the whole thing. So, okay. Yeah. That does make me nervous, but. Moved by Councillor Malashewski, seconded by Councillor Moore. Resolved that council declared a subject properties as surplus. Plan M124, lot 1 to 6, PCL 9019, PIN number is 624570314, Simcoe Plaza. 55R-11734, lot 1, Millennium Road. Plan M329, lot 256, East Grove Crescent. And that council approved the signing of the listing agreements with the subject properties with W. Christia from Remax Generation Realty. And that appropriate bylaw be brought forward. All those in favor? Okay, got it. Stable. Thank you, Stacey.
Thanks, Nikki.
Okey dokey, John, Communications Integrity Commissioner reminder and report.
Really, it's kind of a more of an information item there. We haven't had any code of conduct complaints and CIA inquiries on the level of 2020 year. So the commissioner or the integrity commissioner provides us to this municipality. I put it in our communications in case you also want to discuss it. That's information, but it also shows 7 at your table. we've looked at it and we acknowledge it. There is a resolution.
And who's our integrity commissioner in LAX?
No, it's E4M Municipal Solutions are the suit.
Okay. Any questions on that one? Nope. Nope. Moved by Councilor Moore, seconded by Councilor Malashewski, resolved that council accepts the integrity commissioners report 2021 as received. All those in favor? Okay. And a reminder from the integrity commission. We don't have to get into that one, right? We already know.
Do the same items.
Okay. So bylaws. Moved by Councilor Malashewski, seconded by Councilor Moore, resolved that council authorize the bylaw to permit the township of Terrace Bay to enter into a listing agreement with W. Christia of Remax Generation Realty. Be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 17th day of August 2022. All those in favor? Question period. Question?
We do have people online, just put it out there, there is question period now, I have put it in the chat, if you have a question, please enter your first and last name and enter your question in the chat. We'll give a minute or two here. Not seeing any activity here, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Going once. Going twice.
Okay, next meeting. Moved by Councilor Moore, seconded by Councilor Malashewski, resolved that the next regular council meeting be on Tuesday, September 6th at 6:30 p.m. in the council chamber. All those in favor? Okay. Moved by Councilor Malashewski, seconded by Councilor Moore, resolved that we do now adjourn at 1:07 p.m. All those in favor?